Back in 1925, a football stadium stood here outside of Minersville. Back in 1925, the Pottsville Maroons played in that stadium and had the best record in the National Football League. Back in 1925, the NFL didn't have playoffs or a Super Bowl. Back in 1925, the Maroons had an exhibition game against a team made up of all-stars who played for the University of Notre Dame, including the legendary Four Horsemen. In 2022, the Chicago Cardinals are recognized as the 1925 NFL champions. In 2022, the Cardinals now play in Glendale, Arizona, and they've never won a Super Bowl. In 2022, some say the Cardinals never will win a Super Bowl because of a curse placed on them after the Pottsville Maroons had to give up their title in 1925. In 2022, an Arizona radio station reached out to Pottsville's mayor Dave Clues, asking for the curse to be lifted.
And of course, Mayor Clues was not going to lift this curse, just being a newly elected mayor and also being a Rams fan. He was not about to lift that. He would have been tarred and feathered. So, no, we weren't going to lift this curse. With the 100th anniversary coming up of the Pottsville Maroons in 2025, we would like our championship back. We won it fair and square. It's ours. When you think about football and you think, oh, Pottsville, an NFL team? Yes, we really did have an NFL team back in 1925. And we had the best NFL team back in 1925.
In 2022, in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs, the Los Angeles Rams beat the Arizona Cardinals 34-11. We're going to keep traveling back and forth between 1925 and 2022 to see why the lost NFL championship is still so important to Pottsville, Pennsylvania, almost 100 years later. Dateline, December 1925. The Pottsville Maroons are the champions of the National Football League. They're the real McCoy after besting the second-place Chicago Cardinals 21-7, and they just beat a team of all-stars from the University of Notre Dame, including the legendary Four Horsemen. The nation celebrates, but wait, controversy. The Frankfurt Yellow Jackets cry foul. The team from Philadelphia complains about the Maroons' exhibition game against the Notre Dame All-Stars being held in the same city on the same day and drawing fans away from their game. The NFL calls the exhibition unauthorized. It said League President Joe Carr told the Maroons not to play, and now they will have their title taken away as one of the consequences. The Chicago Cardinals won't claim the title because it wasn't won on the field. The world waits to see what will happen next. What happened next was the Chicago Cardinals were eventually recognized as the NFL champions in 1925. In 1963, and then again in 1967, the NFL owners voted to keep the 1925 title with the Cardinals franchise. In 2003, the NFL owners voted 30-2 to not reopen the issue. In each vote, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles sided with the Pottsville Maroons. Diana Prosimchak, the executive director of the Schuylkill County Historical Society, questions the role that cost the Maroons their title.
Nobody can prove this so-called rule. They can't find it anywhere in the books. And when it was challenged many times, nobody can prove this rule. So I think that they need to either prove the rule or give Pottsville Maroons their championship back. It's almost 100 years late. And I think Pottsville needs to be able to celebrate and prove that we had this wonderful football team here. I think that if they wouldn't have taken it away, what would Pottsville be today? Would we have an NFL football team right here in Pottsville? I think when they took it away, it depleted the egos of the players, and the team sort of fell apart. So I think that maybe things would have been changed for our area. And I think bringing it back might just brighten a little bit spirits around here.
The spirit of the 1925 Maroons comes alive at the Schuylkill County Historical Society.
You have Charlie Berry, okay? He is the one that wore the boot that kicked the winning field goal from the Notre Dame versus the Maroons, and that is the shoe that we have bronzed here at the Historical Society.
The Maroons' victory over the Notre Dame All-Stars was a big one, since college football was still much more popular than professional football at that time.
It really hit home to see how hard everybody fought for this and how they still continue to fight to get the championship back. So it became very important to me about the Pottsville Maroons. And, you know, people come in here and they'll say, oh, the NFL Hall of Fame really wants that boot. And I get to say, well, they're not getting it. It's staying here in Pottsville.
Dr. John Striegel was the Maroons' owner, and Pro Simchak says his head coach, Dick Rauch, was the first coach in NFL history to hold daily practices.
Dr. Striegel did his best to get the best of the best to play football. There was dentists on that team. There were college students. It wasn't just all coal miners. Yes, there were coal miners on that team.
Rauch's team worked hard, and they were pretty tough. Pro Football Hall of Famer Harold Red Grange called the Maroons the most ferocious and most respected players he ever faced. This story from Pro Simchak may shed more light on that statement, and keep in mind, Grange was getting around $500 a game back then with the Chicago Bears.
They knocked him out cold. And so then he got up and he went back into the game and knocked him out again. He said, no, here's 500, it ain't worth playing. They're too tough. So there was a lot of people that really respected the Maroons back in 1925.
This year, when the confetti comes down on the winners of Super Bowl 56, take a moment and think of that tough team from Pottsville who used to play here, and how people here are fighting to keep their story alive and bring the 1925 NFL championship back to Pennsylvania's coal region. For SSPTV Sports, I'm Ken Cara. Sports on SSPTV News is brought to you in part by MMI Preparatory School. Come see what they have to offer during their exploration days. You can also schedule a visit with their admissions director. Call 570-636-1108, extension 136, or email admissions@mmiprep.org.